Good evening. Can you hear me? My name's Cindy Mills. I'm the District 4 County Commissioner. And I could really cry because so many of you come out. We didn't know when we were planning this if we would have 10 people other than us that were planning it that would show up. And I think this is really representative of a community that cares. And I am so proud to be a part of it. We have had a wonderful committee that's been meeting over the past few weeks, and if I start naming names, I will leave some of them out. If you've been part of our committee, if you will, wave your hand. These people have been coming and helping and working, trying to put this together. We have never tried, or I've just been on the county commission since January, so I'm still figuring out what I'm doing, but we had never had a collaborative effort where the school system and judicial and Forsyth County and our sheriff's office, I didn't say department, and we've all came together to try to make a difference and to recognize, you know, it seems like in a community, we love the Chamber of Commerce speeches, all of us do, because we've got so much to be proud of and so much to brag about, and we have a great community. We have great churches and great organizations and great youth sports and great SAT scores, and I mean, we're thriving and growing, and but sometimes we get lost in all of that there's issues we need to be talking about. And there's, anytime you've got a child, and that's near and dear to my heart, that you have a child that's suffering, a child that needs help, a parent, and that's where it came together for parents, because we feel like so many children, they get educated. It might not be the way, you know, the school system is wonderful and they offer all different kinds of things for the children to understand about drugs and the harmfulness of drugs, but all of a sudden a real close friend of mine's son started going through this, and she was like, I don't know where to turn. I don't know where to go for help. And she had never heard of black tar heroin, never dreamed that her child could be injecting or going through things like this. It was just as one of the speakers will be saying, this can't be happening in my home. It just can't be. And I think that just this host of people shows how much you care about your children, how much you care about your community, how you're supportive of this. And I just thank you so much and we hope that this is just the first step. When I was working on Social Services Committee through the Board of Commissioners, and also working with Juvenile Justice, we kept hearing a reoccurring thing that there's drugs in the community. There is children that are suffering. There's children and parents that don't know what's going on. And so through that, we all started talking about we need to do something. We feel like their parents just kept coming up saying, why don't you offer something? Why don't you help? Why don't you do so? We wanted to be that. We wanted to be that kind of community that did offer that and that did come together. And we don't want it to stop with this event. We want this to be the springboard to having other events, to having other support groups that will come and parents that are going through this that'll have a place. We want to form a drug coalition in the county where you can go and not worry and be able to get drug testing and be able to have a resource that can point you in the right direction to get help for your child. And so that's all the things that we hope will come from this. This is not, I don't want you to think this is a one-time event. This is a commitment from the community, and we're going to hopefully be coming together and putting together the drug coalition that will need a board. We'll need people to serve on it. We'll need people to volunteer. We'll need to fundraise. We'll need to do different things, and all in mind that we're doing this for the kids. We're doing this to help our community. We want our community to always be the best that it can be. And I wanted to thank our sponsors for this event that I've already mentioned, Forsyth County Schools and the Forsyth County Government, the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, Forsyth County Judicial, Community Connection, Children's Health Care, and North Forsyth Rotary provided the t-shirts, and then the Department of Behavioral Health all came together to help do the bags and different things. And we want to make sure that we get your email, that we can stay in touch with you. We're also Mr. Smoltz was so gracious to sign us some baseballs for door prizes we're going to give away at the end. So that's the way we know we're going to get your name and your email, because you're going to want to try to get a baseball. I wanted to thank also the people, the leaders that are in the room, and I hope I don't leave some of you out. I know that we have State Representative Mike Dungeon, and we have State Representative Kevin Tanner. Our county commissioners, Chairman Pete Amos and Todd Levant. Our school board members, and some others might have come in. I saw Chairman Darla Light, Ann Crow, and Kristen Morrissey. If I've left anybody. Judge McClellan, Judge Leslie Abernathy Maddox, our Solicitor General Donna Gopal, and District Attorney Penny Penn. And thank y'all all for coming. I know that we've got several that work with drug court, that work with DUI court, have all helped us on this, and we appreciate it so much. And now we will just, I'm not going to stop by introducing everybody that's up here. We're just going to go in the order of the speakers. And our first speaker, our keynote speaker, and I'm so thankful that he was gracious enough to come, is John Smoltz. John's family, he is married to Catherine. He has a son, John Andrew Jr., daughters Rachel, Carly, Kelly, Ashley, and Sarah Catherine. His hometown's Atlanta, Georgia. I don't have to tell you all what an incredible pitcher he was. We all were doing the tomahawk chop and cheering him on as we got that World Series. He has been the World Series in 1995, an 8-time Major League Baseball All-Star. He was MVP of the 1992 National League Championship Series. He's one of only 16 pitchers in Major League Baseball history to record 3,000 strikeouts during his career. He's a Cy Young Award winner, Robert Clemente Community Service Award, the Branch Rickey Award in 2007, the Marvin Miller Man of the Year Award. He's helped found the Kings Ridge, the school, and I think more than anything, just being here tonight speaks of his heart and reaching out into this community and being here to help us with this. And so, if you will, John Smoltz.
Well, thank you, and I'm overwhelmed with the turnout, because when I thought about coming here to speak, when I tell you a little bit about myself, you'll realize why I'm not the one you really want to hear from an expertise standpoint, but from an educational standpoint and from a care for kids and the fact that so much can be done. This is a great stepping stone for a lot of you who are searching for answers, questions that you have and don't know where to turn. For me personally, I have, for my whole life, I've been competing in sports ever since I was 7 years old. Didn't quite start out that way when I was 4. I was competing with the accordion when I was 4. Sports was not always something that was in our family. Music was. So I started as an accordion player, just to give you a brief background of kind of what maybe makes me the way I was. But I did, for 3 years, play the accordion, and then sports was something I had a passion for at the age of 7. From 7 to the age of 46, much like all of us, we have something we're passionate about, but we also have something that can probably lead us towards a borderline addiction in some fashion or some way. And for me, I guess you can say amongst some of those things, competition can be one of those addictions, because I had to compete my whole life in a professional standpoint, but I love to compete and I love to go to battle. And the one thing you have to hear tonight is that this is a battle. This is a battle that a lot of people, and I hope that when this evening concludes, will be a stepping stone to all of you or some of you being able to partake in this battle, to compete for our kids, to really go after what has really been a decline in not only character, but in our world and what is popular and what is hip and what is okay. We've really watered down everything, if you think about it, from sports, the game that I love, that I played. Character has been watered down. Drugs has come part in our game to compete, to cheat, to get an edge, to do whatever it takes. So for me, the person of John Smoltz, I've always been taught that character is the most important thing that you can have. Unfortunately, that is That goes pretty quickly with the kids and what they're dealing with today. I'm not the one to come up here and speak of which, when you think about this talk, I'm probably on a scale of 1 to 100 the farthest way from being able to deliver this speech. I'll tell you why. I am in one of those rare minorities, in one of those rare blessings that I can only think comes from God. I have never been in a compromising situation my entire life. I'm 46 years old. I played with probably 150 to 200 different players over the 21 years of baseball. The pressures that we had and the pressures that were in that game were great. They're getting greater. But I've never been offered a drug. I couldn't tell you what anything is if you laid it on this table and explained what it was other than seeing on TV or hearing. Now that's a blessing, because that can't happen anymore. It's probably in the less than 2% of the minority. When you think about what our kids are dealing with today and what they're in front of, I still can't believe it's never been proposed to me in my entire life. Now, part of that is by an intuition and an opportunity to try to stay away from that. But that other part is that blessing that I'm telling you about that is just a freak, because my 8th grader, which is my youngest, probably knows more than I could ever imagine about what's going on in today's world. Unfortunately, as parents, we want to control the environment, but we probably have less time with our kids than we really think. And what they see, hear, smell, and feel is giving them things that we could never prepare them for or want them to be involved with. That's why it's so amazing when you think about an 8th grader, and you could probably go, and these people who are experts will tell you much more information, that they've been exposed to things that in 46 years of my life I've never been exposed to. And I probably had the highest risk, or one of the higher risks, to be exposed in the arena that I played. So I too want to battle for my kids. I want to battle for other people's kids and teach them a way and provide a way that gives them knowledge and hope, because identity is built and is in so many things that's what these kids are hoping for. That identity that they can be cool, or that they can be in this arena or that arena, is actually taking them over. And that addiction, and of course the chances of each individual and how they react based on the usage is not fair. Drugs is not fair. All the things that we see on TV is not fair. It's not, they don't play nice. It's not equal. Someone doesn't get 10 chances, someone gets 1. Someone might get a lot more opportunities. And in my quest as a baseball player, that because that's what I became known for, and whether it's my baseball camps, every step along the way you almost see this, yeah, don't take drugs, don't do this, don't do that message. And it's been such a leveraged situation that we have compromised so much because we think, well, it can't happen to our household, or it won't happen to my kids, or my kids are in a safe place. This town, this city probably is not one of those cities we would think drugs would take place. We kind of categorize or stereotype where drugs are. Drugs has no face, has no color, has no race. Anything that they can do to get in the hands of a kid or a person, it's amazing. So for me to stand up here and to kick this off, it's an honor, but I also feel helpless in the sense that my knowledge is zero. I've been blessed to be protected, and I would do anything to protect my kids. But apart from my house, and apart from TV and movies, which we know what they're selling in every movie or TV program today, it's getting worse. What your kids are seeing, what's going into their brain and what's going into their body is getting worse and worse and worse. Somebody said we're the most directly technical world we've ever been in. We're probably the most socially disconnected world we've ever been as well. Because there are so many things to take our kids away from pure and good things. The technology has basically taken over. And that knowledge system and that ability for a kid to know which pocket, which circle they can go to get X, Y, and Z is unbelievable. And the pressure to stay quiet and not help or not say a word, that's what I hope this evening can become, because the information that you will get and the opportunity that you will have to help somebody and save a life No matter if you ruin a friendship or a relationship, saving a life is the most important thing. There's people in this room that have been affected far greater than I and my wife, although we have been affected in our family. And I don't know what faith and what you believe in. Trust me on this. This type situation will ruin anything you can imagine in your life. And having played and seen so many people have their careers cut short, have their marriages or their family, the stress that it's put on is unbelievable. So when I agreed to do this, I hoped that this turnout would be exactly that, so that you can really get the meat and potatoes from somebody, from the professors, from the people who have seen this, from the judge who sits in the courtroom who constantly is dealing with this epidemic, to a classroom and a teacher and a principal who has to deal with this on a daily basis. I consider myself lucky. I consider myself fortunate, but I also consider myself at a disadvantage because I have no idea what's out there. I have no idea how and what these kids and why they're trying so many different things just to not feel whatever they're feeling at the given moment that they don't like. Happiness and joy certainly cannot come this way, and I think you all know that. So when I think about my life, it started at 4, and really my sports career started at 7. I never envisioned the amount of opportunities that I would have to make an impact through playing the game of baseball, whether it's visiting families in the hospital or whether it's being able to share a short message like this. One thing I know, I didn't come up here to elevate myself or speak as if I'm better than anybody else, because at any given moment, something can happen that takes away the great opportunity that I've been given as a celebrity. Grace is an amazing thing. Don't deserve it in our faith. The one thing that I'm hopeful is that people can get a second and third chance. What we don't want and what we hope to avoid is that this epidemic keeps going quiet, dormant, underground. We've got to expose it. If there's any battle that's worth fighting for, if there's any competition to try to get in and compete for, it's competing for our kids in a world where they are so against the 8 ball. There are so many more pressures they're dealing with today. It doesn't matter if you're in a private school or a public school. It has absolutely no boundaries. So for me, I'm privileged to come on behalf of some brave people who will speak to you, people who have been studying this, people who will give you insight, step aside with you, put an arm around you, and know what you're going through and what you're feeling. My life radically changed this past year and a half because I had to go to those meetings, and I had to go to certain situations where I had no idea the pain that existed and the stress and the heartbreak that it is to watch a child basically throw away their life, basically give up on all the things that we have at our fingertips, and it changed me 100%. I didn't want to go there, I didn't want to be there, and I didn't want to do anything because I felt this not only was awkward, I had no idea what was going on. Many of us cannot say we don't know anybody that hasn't been affected or been and dealt with this disease and this addiction. And it's been around me my whole life. I could pretty much pick the pockets and know who was doing what, but never was in that situation of compromise. So for me, I tell kids all the time, there are so many more other things to fight for. There are so many things that I'm hopeful that the minority of celebrity athletes, which, when I say minority, you don't have any attention put on the character-driven ones. You just see the freakish athletic ones that do great things, and then the ones that obviously don't make news for the right reasons. But we're all into that, what have you done for me lately, and what can you do for me? And we'll kind of give up the character issue if that person's playing for our home team sports and doing well. I hope we can change a lot of things through this evening and through this night, but more importantly, I hope it changes your philosophy into not sit still, not to sit patiently, not to sit idle, but to be able to do something in your community, in your school, in your county, whatever it takes, because it's worth fighting for. It's not getting better. It's getting worse, and the opportunities for these kids to experience on things you can't even dream up is out there. It breaks my heart. It breaks, obviously, a lot of people's hearts to see these kids go in the direction they are. I'm over my skis. I don't know what I'm talking about in this area, but I felt compelled to come here and at least share a small experience to kick off this event to say, I care. And character should matter. And the fight that we're in is a great fight. It's never going to end. You don't know to the degree until you take time to invest in your children's lives in what's going on to help them protect against themselves. Because the people that are around them and the sphere of influence that they're around is so ever-consuming, it's going to cause them to do something that might take their life. It's going to cause them to make a tough decision that hopefully they'll get a chance to make up for and be able to tell and share their stories. So thank you for coming out on a weeknight. Thank you for being able to listen to some great stories of wisdom and hopefully some stories of answers. Thank you very much.
I'll introduce myself. My name is Dwayne Piper. I'm the sheriff for Forsyth County. I want to echo the gratitude for the turnout. I don't think I've seen any other event that's drawn this many people to this center. It means a lot. The last thing that I want to do at the very beginning of hibernation season is sit at a table and listen to somebody tell me a bunch of numbers. I'm going to have to do that a little bit to illustrate a point, but there's a reason for these numbers. This type of meeting, this type of intercourse is long overdue, and it needs to continue. So I'm going to have to give you some statistics. If you'll stay with me, don't lay down on the table and go to bed. Hopefully at the end you'll understand why I presented these statistics. I'm going to give you some information that has not been presented to you before, I'm sure, and I know it's not been presented to you in the way that I'm going to present it. It's my strong belief that this information not being presented to parents and to students is the reason that is necessary to have a meeting like this. Traffic fatalities. For our young people, 21 and under, for the last 8 years, from the year 2006, the beginning of 2006, through the present time, which is about 8 years, we've had 14 traffic fatalities in Forsyth County. 14 of our young folks have died driving. That's, I'm not a mathematician, but that's a little bit under 2 per year. 3 of them involved alcohol. One of those alcohols also was drugs, drug and alcohol together, and the other was drugs alone. That's 4. 4 of 14 of our traffic fatalities of young people have only been 4 of them involving drugs and alcohol. The vast majority were not. Right now you should be asking yourself, we're at a drug summit. Why do I have the sheriff up here talking about traffic fatalities? That'll become clear in just a minute. Are we inadvertently sending the wrong message to our children is one of the things I want to get across. We've done a good job of not letting our kids drink and drive. We don't let our kids, we tell our kids not to drink if they're going to be driving, not to do drugs if they're going to be driving. Well, obviously we've done a pretty good job with that. But in sending that message, are we telling them that drugs might be okay as long as you're not driving? It's just a question. It's something to think about. In the past 2 years, 2012 and 2013, we've had 19 drug overdoses in Forsyth County. Now compare that. I want you to get the significance of that number. Over an 8-year period, we've lost 14 of our young children to traffic accidents. When one of our young ones dies in a traffic accident, you see that on TV for 2 or 3 days. In 2 years, we've lost 19 to drug overdoses. I haven't seen the first story on it in the media. I think this goes to what Mr. Smoltz was talking about. Is it something we're not talking about? If it's something we're not talking about, we live in a wonderful community up here. Forsyth County is blessed in so many ways. We have to respond to those blessings by talking to our kids. Let me explain to you real quick what I'm talking about. You'll hear me using the word opiates. When I refer to opiates, largely I'm talking about heroin, heroin specifically. But also in there for time constraints, I'm not going to be able to get into a big class on this. But for time constraints, that's also going to include methadone, oxycodone, OxyContin, synthetic opiates. So I'm going to group them all together for the purpose of this. I'll answer more questions when we get to the question and answer part of it. But of those 19 deaths we've had, 13 of them are confirmed, medically confirmed opiate overdoses in Forsyth County. Again, we've lost 14 of our young ones to traffic fatalities, but we've lost 13 to opiates. This number will be significant a little bit later. 12 of those deaths occurred in 2012, 7 of them so far this year in 2013. We've been arresting your kids. Some of y'all know it. Some of y'all have experienced it. Some of y'all know people who've been arrested. This year alone, 2013, are heroin specific. I'm not including the other opiates. Heroin alone, the arrests have gone up 5 times what they were just last year in 2012. 5 times. The total weight that we've seized through these arrests has over doubled from what we seized last year. Total drug arrests, we're on pace to just about exactly double what we made last year. When you look at those numbers, I'm done giving you numbers, by the way. I might throw some more in, but I just want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on. When you look at those numbers, at first blush, you might take those numbers and say, well, if we're arresting more kids and few of them are dying from drug overdoses, there's your answer. Let's put them in jail. It's saving their lives. That would be bad. That would be a misuse of information. That's not the answer. Is it possible that it's true? It might be, but it would definitely be temporary. I'm not satisfied with a possible or temporary solution. The solution is getting involved with our kids. The solution is getting to know your kids. I'm going to do my best not to start preaching now because I don't want to step on anything anybody else has got to talk about. You're probably going to hear something about watching your kids. Are they moody? Are they withdrawn? Are their eating habits changing? We're talking about teenagers, right? They're all like that. That's where it's on us as parents. Get to know your kids. Spend time with them. Know if it's just the teenage moodiness. Know if it's just the teenage withdrawal or if there's something else going on in their life. Get in their business. Their business, by definition, is your business. It's heartbreaking when we arrest your kids. Not nearly, I wouldn't try to minimize the heartbreak of families and loved ones that go through the pain of addiction by saying that we were just as heartbroken. We can't be. We can't know the pain that you're going through. It's different from the pain that anybody else is going through in the same situation. But it breaks our heart. It doesn't make us feel good to put them in jail. That's not the answer. Sitting next to a Hall of Famer, a lot of y'all came to hear him talk, so I'm going to use a baseball analogy. I'm going to go on the premise that y'all understand baseball. If your kids come into contact with law enforcement or the legal system because of drug use or because of their contact with drugs, that's not the beginning. That's the end. That's the equivalent in baseball terms of being in the top of the 9th inning, you're 10 runs down, you've used every pitcher you got, and your second baseman is pitching. You're praying for miracles. That is the only thing that's going to save your child or your family. And miracles are happening every day. Treatment providers, the things that they're doing in our treatment courts, outstanding. They are miracles. But we need to stop it before that. We need to get involved in the first inning, the first and second inning, when you're figuring out where the game's going, what's going on with the game, who can play, what's going on. That's where we got to get involved. That's where we've got to be with our kids. That's where we've got to know what they're doing, who they're doing it with, and what they're doing on the internet. This information is not intended to overwhelm or depress you in any way. To be sure, the number of arrests for opiates, that'd be heroin and all the rest of them, I'm grouping them together again, are a very small percentage of the drug arrests. But there's no way to escape the fact that we made 5 times as many in a 1-year jump. We can't escape that. That is a problem in our community. It needs to be addressed. Thank y'all for coming. It's overwhelming. It's heartening, and it's a good sign to see this many people that are this interested in what's going on in their community and their kids. We as law enforcement sometimes are separated by all we do is arrest people, all we do is the bad things. From me to any one of my deputies, if you have a problem going on in your family that you need help with, you talk to us. We'll point you to the resources. We'll show you where you need to go. We'll show you who can help you with this. This is a community. We're part of this community, and we're going to help you succeed. Thank you.
I'm Jeff Bagley. I'm your Chief Superior Court Judge here in this judicial circuit. I also am the presiding judge of the Forsyth County Drug Court, which I'm very proud of, and I'll talk about. That's what I'm going to be talking to you mainly about this evening. I'd like to thank Commissioner Mills for inviting me to this wonderful event. I am astounded at the turnout that we see. I didn't really know what to expect, but it's just amazing how many people are interested in this subject. And I know that Commissioner Mills is interested. I think her heart's in the right place. She has actually attended at least 2 of our drug court graduation ceremonies here in Forsyth County. So I know that she is really has a passion for this subject. I know that most everyone in here has probably in some way, either directly or indirectly, been impacted because of drugs and alcohol. And your presence here this evening shows your concern for what I will call an epidemic that we have seen and we continue to see here in our county, state, and our nation in this year. Untold millions suffer daily and billions of dollars are spent on the care for substance abusers, not to mention the social toll that drug and alcohol abuse takes on our society in the form of family violence cases that I see on a daily basis, broken homes, divorces, which I also preside over, domestic relations cases. So pretty much daily in the court system, we see the effects and the toll that the use and abuse of drugs and alcohol takes on our society and on our population. Many times in order to save their loved ones, families will spend lots of money to send a child or a relative to a rehab center, only to learn that after the expenditure of a good portion of their life savings, that person actually returns to using in a pretty short period of time. What a disappointment it has to be for those family members who are trying to get their loved one out of the grip of the disease of alcohol and drugs. I've heard these stories time and again from my drug court participants who tell me that without the intervention of the court system, that they would be dead, that drug court has actually saved their lives. Many have been through several rehab facilities, but drug court is the only thing that has worked for them. The Forsyth County Drug Court will celebrate its 10th anniversary in January of 2014. Since its inception 10 years ago, we have graduated 236 persons. To our knowledge, and we don't know, we can't get an exact number on this because obviously other people move to different states and so forth sometimes, but to our knowledge, approximately 32 people out of those 236 graduates have been rearrested. And that's not all for drugs, but that's the rearrest number that we have. That's about a 13% recidivism rate, which is a far cry from the 75% recidivism rate for individuals who are released from the state prison system after I've sentenced an offender to a prison term. Drug court, you wonder what it is. What is this thing that Judge Bagley is talking about? Well, drug court is a division of the Superior Court wherein certain felony cases are referred to the drug court program by the district attorney of this circuit, Miss Penny Penn, and she's on our staff, our drug court staff. Stand up, Miss Penn. I want everybody to see you. You're an integral part of our drug court. And also another integral part of our drug court is our accountability courts director for Forsyth County. That'd be Jennifer Johnston. I want Jennifer to stand up. I'm ordering you to stand up, Ms. Johnston. And so we have that they are an integral part of our drug court team. We call it a team because we get together, we have staffing every Tuesday afternoon at 1:30. And I hold drug court. In fact, I came from drug court. We finished up about a little after 6 o'clock this evening in time for me to get here to speak to you all. Drug court is an alternative to traditional sentencing, which allows an individual who elects to come into the program a chance to become clean and sober. And as an added incentive, in certain cases, the state will ultimately dismiss the charges upon their graduation after a minimum period of 2 years. In other cases where it's appropriate, their probation is terminated early and the person can be discharged from the crime. Regardless of whatever legal benefit they receive from completing and graduating from the program, the most valuable benefit by far is a life of sobriety. I told 3 individuals who were accepted into our program this evening that is the biggest benefit that they're going to get, is that they will become a productive member of this community. They'll become someone who is trusted, working, and contributing rather than being a drain on the community in the jails or in the prisons. And that is by far the biggest benefit that they can get. Why does drug court work when so many voluntary rehab programs fail? That may be the question you may be asking. There's a phrase in the field that we call coerced treatment. Put simply, most of you probably have heard the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, in drug court, we can make them drink, figuratively. The threat of sanctions, primarily jail sanctions, and the threat of termination and sentencing and potentially prison is enough to force most participants to comply just long enough to begin to embrace the new lifestyle of sobriety, so much so that it actually will stick with them. I serve on the board of the National Association of Drug Court Professionals, which is a national organization of drug court professionals, and the symbol of our organization is a serpent which is wrapped around a gavel. This represents the melding of the legal profession, represented by the gavel, and the medical profession, represented by the serpent, in a way that has never really been done before. By combining intensive judicial supervision, in most cases weekly, a weekly visit to the court by the participant, with drug testing, intensive drug testing, random and observed, and intensive counseling by medical professionals, we can achieve the goal of changing lives and, in many cases, saving lives. The drugs we have seen have changed over the years, as the sheriff has said. In the 2000s, what I saw was methamphetamine was the primary drug that we were seeing. Now, in addition to methamphetamine, we're seeing an influx of prescription opiates, advancing to heroin as being the predominant drug of choice in many cases. Our population seems to be younger as well, with most of our participants under the age of 35, many in their early 20s and a few in their late teens. And yes, an adult in Georgia is 17 years old. Not so that when they're 17 and they are arrested by Sheriff Piper's people, they don't go to juvenile court anymore. Judge Jackson's here and he's going to speak in a moment. They come to Superior Court. And yes, we've got a few teenagers. I've got one of our drug court participants who is in the school system here in Forsyth County as a teenager. So yes, they are that young. I would also like to recognize State Court Judge Russ McClellan, who presides over the Forsyth County DUI Court, which is also very successful for DUI offenders. So Judge McClellan, I'm going to order you to stand up too. Thank you for being here. And also, I have spearheaded the establishment of a mental health court for Forsyth County through procurement of some state grant funding, which we've been lucky enough to be the recipient of, both for our drug courts and DUI courts and mental health court. And State Court Judge Leslie Abernathy Maddox has agreed to sit for me as Superior Court Judge to preside over that division of Superior Court, being mental health court. And she's also committed to start a misdemeanor drug court for marijuana cases that would be prosecuted in the State Court of Forsyth County. Judge Abernathy Maddox, stand up. I want them to see you as well. Every Tuesday, I would be remiss if I didn't say also that with these accountability courts, we have to have, as I said, the cooperation of the prosecutors. I've already introduced Ms. Penn as the district attorney. The prosecutor for the State Court of Forsyth County also has to cooperate in this endeavor for it to work. And Solicitor General Donna Gopal, who's standing up over there in the T-shirt, she is cooperating, of course, with the State Court of Accountability Courts, DUI Court, and the Misdemeanor Drug Court. So we appreciate her participation. Every Tuesday afternoon, as I said, our staff meets. We discuss the progress of each one of our individuals. We have about anywhere from 80 to 90 participants in our program. I then hold court and determine whether sanctions or incentives are warranted. Many people this afternoon I had to send to jail for a sanction. They tested positive, they had positive screens, and then some I gave some incentives to. I gave some praise from the bench, things of that nature also as incentives. I get to know these people, and I will tell you that they are real people who have found themselves on the wrong side of the law, but who are suffering and who are in need. Drug court is a way to lend a hand to our fellow man, and when we have the ability to do so, I believe that if we fail to act as public servants, we have missed a golden opportunity to serve. And it has been my privilege and my honor to preside over the drug court of Forsyth County these last 10 years. And really, it's been one of the most worthwhile and rewarding things that I've ever done as a Superior Court judge. And I will leave this one thought with you. Drug courts work. Thank you for having me this evening, and God bless you all.
I am Russell Jackson, and I am the judge of the juvenile court in Forsyth County. And I too am astounded to see so many people here this evening, but I commend you all for being here. And the message that I want to send to you is that parents and other guardians of children, whether they be grandparents involved in those children's lives, extended family members, mentors, coaches, you have power. You have the most power of any of us sitting up here in your children's lives. And I have to say this, I'm astounded that I have to say this so often while I'm sitting in court. Many times with a whole family sitting in front of me, a young person, a mother or father, if we're lucky, all sitting there. And I have to tell those parents, you have the power here. You've all heard the saying, parents are the best anti-drug. Well, it is true. You spend more time with your child and your children than any of us will ever spend. And I have to echo what Sheriff Piper said. Knowing those children and communicating with them is the key to that. So take on the mantle that you have. You have real power. And don't be afraid to use it and exercise it. Your child owns no property. Your child has no privacy. Legally, nothing. They live in your house. They probably drive your car or the car that you provided for them. They don't own anything. You own it and you let them use it. The room that they have in your house is your room. Don't listen to any of this gobbledygook about, I have a constitutional right to privacy. You can't come into my room and search. That's not right. And it astounds me I have to tell people this. But I believe that people do, because of our society and all the media and all the concerns about everybody else that has a say-so in your child's life, the fear, that social services or Department of Family and Children Services will be called, all those kinds of things. I think some people use that as an excuse not to do anything, but you, as parents of children, guardians of children, you do have the power, and that's what I try to do, and we try to do in juvenile court, is we try to empower parents to do their job. I don't want to parent your children when they come in front of me. That's not my job. But I will support parents in doing that job. The mission of the juvenile court is not to have your children arrested and prosecuted and convicted and sent to juvenile detention and have records for the rest of their life. The stated mission of the juvenile court is to treat and rehabilitate young people and turn them into, hopefully, productive members of society, productive adults, well-rounded adults. That's your job as a parent as well. And we are here to try to help you in that mission if you need help. Some of the ways that we can help you is first to assure you, as I said, that the goal is not to put your children in danger, not to punish your children even, although as I often say, unfortunately, punishment is a part of rehabilitation. If you don't understand that there are consequences for your actions, you don't learn that lesson as a young person, then you've missed a huge lesson that you need to learn in your life. But that is not the primary goal, to punish, as it is sometimes in the adult system. We just want to punish people for being bad people. We want to remove them from society altogether so they're not a danger to any of the rest of us. But that is not the goal in juvenile court. Our goal is to figure out what the problems are and to help everybody come together and everybody help solve those problems. So, as Sheriff Piper said, do not be afraid to call on people in the legal community, even in the law enforcement community, because they're all interested. And I've been around doing this for a long time, and I can tell you one thing that most all people are interested in is helping young people and lending a hand to a family who really wants it and is in need. And if you call us at juvenile court, and you as parents, again, have power, you don't have to wait for law enforcement to show up and arrest your kids. You can file a complaint on them yourself in juvenile court and ask for help. What ways can we help? As Judge Bagley mentioned, intensive drug screening. That is a very good way, if you think your kids are using drugs, to get people to stop using drugs. If they know they're going to get caught when they use, I guarantee you they're a lot less likely to use. And if they know they've got random screens coming at any time, then that's a good way that they're going to get caught, and they learn that very fast. But there are many other programs that we have, ability to support you, help you enforce the rules, monitor your children, GPS monitors. We have all kinds of tools that we can employ to assist you in parenting your children. We also have a juvenile accountability and substance abuse court, basically a drug court for young people. And that is a very effective tool as well. It's hard on the whole family. It's not for everybody necessarily, because in our court, whatever the kids have to do, and I often hear this complaint from parents, is I feel like that as a parent, I'm on probation instead of my kid, because everything the kid has to do and is required to do, the parent has to be right there, driving them around, making sure they're going where they're supposed to be, meeting with their probation officers with them. And it's the same thing in our drug court, because I know from experience that if we don't change the whole family environment, we're not going to be successful in changing that child's behavior. And sometimes it takes that intensive work with the entire family to make those changes. But we have a lot of services that we can offer to you. And once we are through with your case, with your child, hopefully what we will be able to do, even though they may have come to court, they may have been what we call adjudicated delinquent, that's not a conviction. The law says they haven't been convicted of a crime. They've been adjudicated as a delinquent. We're recognizing children are different. They're going to make mistakes. And we're going to give them the chance to rebound from those mistakes without being marked for the rest of their lives. But we'll go further than that. If your child does well, and we can terminate their case successfully because they've been rehabilitated, then the law allows you also to come back and ask that your record, your juvenile record even, be completely sealed and expunged. And the law says if that happens, it's to be treated as if the whole thing never even occurred. It was like a bad dream. So don't be afraid to ask for help. We have a whole new category of children, classification of children we're going to be dealing with beginning January 1 that the legislature created for us that further emphasizes this idea. And that category of children is going to be called children in need of services. And that can be a child who's just unruly, who could be using drugs, who's running away from home, who's truant from school, or just needs help. And the whole family needs help. So again, it's not just our court, it's the whole system that is going toward this idea of let's treat children as children, recognize they make mistakes, try to rehabilitate them, provide them the treatment they need, and hopefully they never end up in Judge Bagley's court, although I send every child that comes through my drug court, I make him go sit not only in Judge Bagley's adult drug court saying, now's the time to change, because when you get up there, Judge Bagley's not soft like I am. He'll lock you up and send you to jail in 2 seconds. I also send every kid, once they reach phase 3, upper level phase of my drug court program, I send them to Judge McClellan's DUI court as well to send the same message. It's not just drugs, people, it's alcohol too. And don't be fooled by marijuana and think, well, my kid's just using marijuana. I used marijuana. It's not a big deal. No. Marijuana is a powerful, mind-altering drug. Studies show that the marijuana that is out there today may be 12 and more times more potent and more powerful than what was around in the 60s or the 70s. They've bred new strains. And you don't know what's in marijuana when your child is smoking it. And I found this time and time again, because we'll test a child and they'll come up positive for a whole host of things, and they'll say, I swear I didn't do anything but smoke marijuana. Well, it's because other drugs got mixed up. These are not regulated stuff. Other drugs got mixed up in the marijuana, and they ended up smoking heroin and methamphetamine and whatever else might have been lying around that was cut into that particular batch of marijuana. Or somebody did it on purpose and gave it to him. Whatever the reason, it's not regulated. And where does it act on? The frontal lobe of the brain, the part of the brain in the adolescent that's still forming. Powerful mind-altering substance. I tell kids all the time, what do you want to do? End up brain damage for the rest of your life because you smoke marijuana? But that's what potentially could happen. So don't say, my kid's just smoking marijuana, no big deal. My kid's just drinking alcohol, no big deal. Guarantee you it's a big deal, because that's where it starts, and where it ends up is in Judge Bagley's court, Judge McClellan's court, Judge Abernathy Maddox's court. So do something while you can do something. Don't be afraid to do something. We have flyers in the back about our Accountability and Substance Use Court program, as well as our contact information. There are many ways besides just the drug court program we can try to help you, and we are here to serve you in any way we can. But be empowered as parents. That's the message I would like you to take away. And again, thank you all for being here tonight.